Give it about 20 more seconds.
All right, we are live.
Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about two things. Number one, renewals, and then a little bit more about select funding. Um, and I also want to talk to you about some of you have contracts with multiple lenders, and we had a huge conference call with several of the lenders, and they're warning us of all these lenders that are taking your file and submitting it and giving it to some of their larger ISOs and submitting it through them. Just be careful who you do business with. You can feel very safe to work through Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital. But man, if you're contracted elsewhere, you're going to get your files taken from you, and you're going to get them funded. And we're not going to be able to help you, and you're not going to get a commission because somebody else is going to take it. So let us be your number one spot to submit it. And if we can't get something for you, submit it other places after that. What I want to do today, I'm going to share my screen. I want to talk to you guys about renewals. And Morgan, can you tell me if I'm sharing my screen?
You are.
All right. Just talk about eligibility requirements. Now, each time we have what you receive a funding, regardless, I'm talking about one through Bank Breezy. I'm not talking about Giggle, but you receive a funding, you get the email with the name and information and email and name and all the information on your client. If you need any further information on it, then contact Bank Breezy. I'll get it for you, or one of our team members will. Renewals are a big part of success in this industry, and you can literally live off renewals once you get a couple of dozen of fundings over the period of the next year or so. But to be eligible for any kind of renewal funding, of course, they got to be 50% paid in. They can't have a whole lot of NSFs on their current funding. In other words, the payments cannot have bounced multiple times, or they can't have lowered the payment on those that initial funding. The revenue still got to be consistent, just like it was when you got they got their initial funding. They can't have more than 4 negative bank days, just like they would if they were qualifying for their initial funding. And they got to be making timely payments on their current funding, and they cannot have stacked it with another lender. But I mean, all of the MCA renewal, merchant cash advance renewals out there, even the big fundings that are not MCAs, all this, they're going to look at it. They're going to look at payment repayment history, make sure that you've been on time. They're going to look at your revenue generation. I had one that I felt sure we're going to get them $100,000 renewal. But when we got their bank statements, I saw that their revenue had been cut in half. And if they were even trying to get that same amount of funding now, they wouldn't, because they've got such low revenue coming in, but it's supposed to pick back up. So I told them, hey, after it picks up for 3 months, then we'll be able to go get that renewal for you. Whatever their outstanding balance is, it's got to be at least on the big fundings, it's got to be at least 40%. And on all the other fundings, it's got to be at least 50% paid in before they can get a renewal. And a renewal is usually at least what they got the last time, and usually more than that. On top of that, they're going to be better rates than last time in almost all cases. And then the relationship with the lender is important, and you don't have to worry about your relationship with the lender. You got to worry about my relationship with lenders. So my relationship with these lenders, and I say my as in Bank Breezy, David Allen Capital, we got a great relationship. We talk to them every day. We have conferences once a month where we get online and talk about some of the things in the industry that's changing and that sort of thing. They're going to also look at time in business. So if someone's only been in business for a couple of months, let's say 5 or 6 months, and they paid on it for 3 months, they're going to probably ask them to just, before they get a renewal, go a couple of more months. But most of the time, that's not going to be an issue. If I got them funded the first time, I'll get the renewal the second time. They're going to look at the credit score and they're going to make sure the bottom hasn't fallen out on their FICO score. And then they kind of going to look at the industry type too, and make sure it's not a seasonal business. Because I mean, you may be in a seasonal type business like farming, and you got a bunch of money now, but then you're going into the fall months or the winter months, and you're not going to have much money coming in. They're going to ask for 12 months of bank statements just to make sure that you can afford that renewal. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is going back to the renewal side. Call your current client base. You've got the information on your client base, and David told me today to have you look in your back office, and you can get the information about who your clients are, and just talk to them and see how they feel about everything. Maybe that would be a great way to pick up some referral leads too, because if they got funding, they're usually pretty happy, and they'll be able to give you that. We want you guys to really work on the premium select funding that we have out there, because they're going to be larger accounts. They're not going to be like the trucking and real estate and that sort of thing, where you're going to be getting these high rates. We're getting an awful lot of folks in the high teens, mid 20s, high 20s for this select funding. So it's going beautifully. But it's really going to help these businesses in a time that they're going to need help. The reason that they're going to choose us is because instead of the average 1.3 to 1.5 rates that we give for those who are not part of the select funding group, they're going to get a 118 or a 129. And sometimes, and like this past week, I got a select funding for 150,000. It was a 137, but then it was 18 months. And a 134, and then it was 18 months. And when you do your math, that actually came out to, we would take the 0.34, divide it by 18, multiply that by 12, and that came out to 22.6% cost of funds annually. So these types of fundings are on a fast track for approval, because they're going to be the kind of deals that these lenders are absolutely looking for. Again, you want them to have 3 years in business, doing 100,000 in monthly sales and a 700 FICO. If it's around 690 and above, they're going to be able to get it. And if not, then maybe our standard funding would be the right pick for them. Also, remember, we want construction. These are the ones that are going to mostly qualify more often than not for select funding. People in the construction business that have been in it for over 3 years. Restaurants, retail that are doing this kind of volume, they're gonna qualify. If any of these that you see here, manufacturing, grocery stores, landscaping, childcare, nail and beauty salons, or e-commerce, are doing 100,000 or more in revenue, and you'd be surprised at how many nail and beauty salons are doing way more than that, then you're going to be able to get that select funding offered to them. And we're going to be able to fund it usually with online checkout, which simply means that there's not going to be any bank verification. There's not going to be any funding calls. They're going to send them a link. They're going to put in their new password to set up their portal, and the money is going to be wired into their account. But that's all I have for today. I'm going to stop sharing here. And if anybody has any questions about anything dealing with funding, now's your chance. Morgan, I don't really see anybody.
I do not.
All right. Well, guys, listen, I really appreciate you hopping on here and it'll be on YouTube as well. But do go in your back office with David Allen Capital and look and see when your folks got funded. And if you need any other information from us, we'll give it to you, and call them up and see if they're in need for, if they've been funded over 90 days, call them up, see if they have need for additional capital. Maybe they got a great idea. Maybe they got an emergency that popped up and they need money today. Remind them that we're here for them. Thank you, God.